Are you itching to get your first veggie crop of the season into your raised beds? I know we are, but before you do that, you have to actually make sure that they're ready. After a long, tough winter, your raised beds are probably full of weeds and lacking in life and vitality. So we have to get them ready for the growing season ahead properly. Otherwise, we get seriously disappointing results.
If you don't know where to begin, don't worry. We're going to show you everything you need to know to bring life back into your raised beds the right way so that you can have a bumper veggie crop all summer long. These beds haven't been utilised for a while and there's some work to do before we can get them ready for planting. There's a lot of overgrown strawberries in here, but mostly it's just full of weeds and we need to give the soil a really good boost.
First things first though, probably need to check the actual structure of the raised bed itself to make sure there aren't any issues with rot or anything like that that's going to affect us further down the road. So we're looking for the condition of the wood, again checking for rot, seeing if there's any screws missing or if there's anything that needs replacing. So, looks like there's not too much wrong with these raised beds, which is a relief to say the least. Weren't able to find much rot, hardly any at all, apart from maybe just a little bit over there, but we'll turn a blind eye to that one. A couple of wobbly bits, like our friend over here, but just knock it down, it should be fine. These things can't be perfect, can they? So nothing too much structurally wrong with these raised beds, which is a relief, because that means we don't have to worry about DIY, or we can get straight on with the gardening.
To ensure there's healthy plant growth, we want to make sure there's good drainage and the soil hasn't become too compact. Poor drainage will result in the roots becoming waterlogged, and the soil being too compact will hinder the root growth. We've had a lot of rain here over the winter, I mean a lot of rain, and we haven't noticed any stagnant water on the surface of these beds, which would suggest there was poor drainage. If you're not sure about your rain beds, what you can do is get a bucket of water, pour some on top and see how long it takes to drain. Aside from all the weeds, it's pretty easy to dig through, and I can see quite a few worms doing their job of aerating the soil.
Next, we've got a very big job on our hands because these raised beds are full of weeds and we don't want them competing with our veggies for water and nutrients. So perennial weeds are just starting to emerge at this time of year, so we have to get in there with our razor hoe, like so, and pull them out by the root and not simply just cut them away. If we leave root in the raised bed, then they're only going to reappear in a couple of weeks. So we're going to want to give all these raised beds a proper clear out. And we do have a tip for keeping on top of weeding your raised beds at the end of this video, so do stay tuned.
Good, that's all.
So that was really quite hard work, wasn't it, Mr. Sheffield?
It was. There were some very deeply rooted weeds in there.
Yeah, perennials really are, they are deep rooted, tough to get out, you have to go quite far. A few interesting tidbits in here there, wasn't there? Like Mr. Potato, there was 3 or 4 smaller ones, little tiny ones, and then there was this big bad boy here. So maybe we'll have roast potatoes for dinner tonight.
Maybe. I found the tool really helpful. I've not used
Yeah.
one of those before, and that made a big difference from when I was trying to do it with a fork
What's it
a
called?
couple of weeks ago.
Razor hoe.
A razor hoe, yeah. You're probably wondering why we decided to take all our strawberries out, because we were quite looking forward to munching on some strawberries in the summer, but we think we'd prefer to have strawberries in containers, maybe nearer the house actually, and we want to maximise the space we've got to plant out our vegetables.
So what's next?
So next we need to look at our soil. Without all those weeds, the beds are looking a little bit depleted, and that's because The plants that we grow in the soil take all the nutrients, and also exposure over time to the weather will gradually erode the soil away. So the volume has gone down and it needs topping up.
That's right. We're going to use what we've already got because it's not too bad. We did see a few worms knocking around, which is always a good sign of life in the soil. But we are going to freshen it up with our own mix to introduce yet more beneficial microbes to the soil. So the best way to make your mix is to make it on the raised bed, and that's what we've done. We basically dumped all our ingredients onto the raised bed, and then Mrs. Sheffield is going to hopefully give it a good mix while we're here. So our mix is approximately 5 parts compost, which is the most important, 2 parts topsoil and 1 part perlite. The compost is going to bring all those beneficial microbes to the soil, so that's really important, especially at the end of winter. And then topsoil is going to bring good soil structure, so you need that. And then perlite is equally very important. You could use sharp sand instead, but we like perlite, and that's going to make the soil mix drain really well. So perlite's really porous, so that's good for that. So you could use a bit more topsoil than we have, but we've already got a ton of it already in the raised beds, and we're just adding to what we've already got, which is why we've gone for a compost heavy mix, and that's going to really bring life to the soil. Well, your boys got a bit of a sweat on after all that heavy work, but they are pretty much ready to go now. I must say they're looking good enough to take a little nap in. So all that's left to do now is to wait. Feels like there's a lot of waiting in this gardening game, doesn't it?
Yeah, we need to leave them for a couple of weeks to settle, and then what we'll do is we'll top them back up again with some more soil mix. The seeds that we've planted inside, they're not quite ready to come outside anyway, so it's great that we're prepared for when they do.
I think we could probably plant that potato though, can't we?
So here's our top tip on how we can prevent those weeds from coming back. I'm going to get my garden hoe. If you just imagine that we've got some beautiful rows of vegetables growing in here, and then I'm just going to take the hoe between the rows of vegetables, and what this is going to do is just going to disrupt the soil, and then as we're disrupting that soil, any weed seedlings that are there are not going to grow, not going to develop into weeds. Prevention is always better than the cure.
So we mentioned that our seedlings aren't quite ready to use these raised beds that we've created today. The cold of our great British weather probably killed them before they got started. But now is the perfect time to get some veggie seedlings started indoors so that you can have a bumper summer crop. And in this video here, we show you 5 perfect veggies that you can start nice and early. So watch it next and we'll see you there.